All right, 3, 2, 1, we're live.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 20, the Bo and Aaron podcast.
It's been
It's
quite a
like
while.
our rent's due, so we got to make another episode to pay rent. So here we are.
So true.
Oh, you don't pay rent, but me on the other hand, I'll be homeless if I don't do this. So
Hell yeah. So what you been up to, man?
I've just been doing as much jiu-jitsu as possible. And then I got sick like 3 weeks ago, and I got like a staph infection.
At the same time?
Yes.
Oh my word.
Well, no. So I was sick for like a week, and then I guess in my like weakened immune system, I somehow got staph. So yeah, that was pretty rough. And then I had to go on antibiotics for like 10 days, and it was pretty brutal.
Damn, where'd you have Staph at?
It was like right, like under my chin, like right on my neck. It was like a huge. It was like a pretty big patch. It was like extremely itchy. It was pretty awful.
That sucks.
Yeah,
I've
I
had
know.
it
I'm
on
usually
the...
like super clean about like jujitsu and stuff, but I guess my immune system was just so worn down that I got it. So.
I had it on the side of my face one time, and I'm like a side sleeper, so it like
Oh,
really
that's brutal.
fucked with me. Yeah, it was terrible. So beyond, are you
Yeah,
still
that was.
doing...
Go ahead.
Are you still doing your running club?
Nah. My knee's been bothering me for like a month, so I haven't been doing it because I put on a triangle on somebody and like my knee like tweaked a little bit and it's been like sore for ever since. So haven't been running.
Gotcha.
Plus, I'll usually drink a few beers at the running club, and I've been going to 6 a.m. jiu-jitsu the next day, so drinking a bunch of beer the night before 6 a.m. class is like not a recipe for success either. So,
Yeah. So true.
yeah. But so you gotta okay, we gotta rewind back, and you gotta tell me about your ski trip or whatever it was, and then your car accident story, since I didn't really hear those.
Oh yeah, dude, I've had some major evolutions. So I guess chronologically, the first thing that happened was probably shortly after our like most recent podcast, besides this one, I went to Denver for my cousin's wedding. And this whole trip was just like, I mean, it was a great trip in hindsight, but it was a fucking like if you can imagine the mental state that you're in if you're like a single mother living paycheck to paycheck, like barely making ends meet, like that was basically me with my time during this trip because of all the events that transcended. So first of all, I had D&D the night before, and we go really super late, and obviously we haven't had a good frequency of D&D sessions in the last few months, so like you savor the moment when you're there, and we got one coming up in 2 weeks, which is Pog. But anyway, so we had that, and then I had my girlfriend drive me to the airport the next day, and I like got to the airport on time, but on time's late when you're at the airport, right? So
Right.
I fucking run to my gate and like got on the plane. I had a good like probably 15 minutes to spare before they like got away from the loading gate and started taking off and stuff. But like, yeah, I was running through CVG airport like with 2 big ass bags because I had my climbing gear too. So that sucks. And then you get to Denver. We immediately, well, I had a layover in Midway, which wasn't too bad, but get to Denver, and the last time that I had done any kind of like physical activity or hiking at altitude was like the summer prior, where I went to Wyoming with to pick up my brother because he's living there right now, and then we went down to Denver to visit my cousin, who's the same cousin that got married, and we did a little bit of bouldering in Denver, and I didn't really feel any altitude effects there. But then we drove over to Yosemite about a day later, and we did a bunch of hiking there, and dude, I don't know if it was altitude that hit me or if maybe it was just coincidence, but I got like viciously sick for a good 10 hours or something, like just vomiting.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
And just felt, yeah, so you can get altitude sickness, but I don't really know what the symptoms are. I know like people get nauseous, and I think they're kind of varied. But anyway, yeah, the air's thinner and you just don't get as much oxygen. So immediately when the plane lands, I get to Airbnb, and 2 of my cousins and one of my cousin's wives and my uncle and who else went. A whole group of people was going Green Mountain. They were hiking up Green Mountain in Boulder, right outside Boulder, which isn't like, it's not a crazy hike by any means, but you gain a few hundred feet of elevation because you drive the car up most of the way and then you hike like the rest of it and get on the summit and you're kind of overlooking Boulder. So I do that hike, and I forgot to mention, I'd bought tickets to, I figured since I was in Colorado, I'd heard so much about Red Rocks Amphitheater, figured I'd go and see a show there. So I didn't know, who'd be performing or anything. I was fully expecting to show up to like a bluegrass concert or like a Christian rock festival or whatever the hell was going on. But turns out there was actually a pretty good DJ doing a set there. It was this group, Gigantic.
Oh yeah, they came to college my freshman year. They came to my school.
Yeah, so they have a lot of like tracks with some like pretty, I don't know like what the word is, like A-list celebrities. I don't know, like Logic and stuff. So, as an individual like group, I'd never really heard of them, but I was like, oh dude, I recognize some of these songs. But it turned out to be like an amazing time. But anyway, we go on this hike, and I'd kind of explained this to my parents beforehand, and my mom had been like real wishy-washy about like committing to certain schedules and times, but I told her like, all right, I don't care what you guys do, but this is like, I need to be in this place at this time to like go to this concert, sort of thing. So I get back from this Green Mountain, and we were like, I was telling the people that I was hiking with, like, the time constraints I had too, so we were operating under this kind of, not like a crazy constrained window, but we were getting back with like a half hour to spare sort of thing. So we get back, and my mom and dad in the vehicle that they had brought me from the airport in is gone. So I I go to look for my phone so I can call them and ask what the fuck's going on, and I can't find my phone. I'm like, oh, that's great. I knew I didn't take my phone on the hike because I knew I wouldn't need it. We were hiking. I didn't want to be on my phone, but I thought I'd left it at the hostel, at the Airbnb, but I didn't. It was in the car that they took. So not only couldn't I call him at this point, but the car was gone. So I took my cousin Joel's phone, or maybe my uncle Dan's phone, and I called them up. I was like, yo, what's going on? Like, I have this concert. And they're like, oh, well, we don't really have cell service right now, so you're lucky you caught us. But we're at Rocky Mountain National Park, which is about an hour and a half away. And all my ticket info was like on my phone and stuff. So I was like, all right, that is great. And I was like, you guys are no help. I hope you have a good time. I'm kind of pissed off right now, though. I don't want to talk to you. Bye. So then we figured out, I was like, I got the app working on my cousin Joel's phone, and he was nice enough to let me literally borrow his phone for like the rest of the night. And they took me down. They had another car rented. My aunt and uncle did, and then they took me down to Denver, and I caught a shuttle to Red Rocks, saw the concert, and caught a shuttle back. When I got to the concert, right, if you've seen the amphitheater before, there's like these crazy pictures or videos or whatever of like people training by like running up and down the stairs. And I mean, like, dude, it's no joke. Like, the stairs are crazy. The place is huge. So not only were my legs killing me from this hike, but I'm going up and down these stairs, my legs are killing me. And then there's 5 or 6 sets, so 5 or 6 different like artists or groups that come out and do like an hour-long set during this concert.
Or like the warm-up or the actual act?
Well, like the whole thing, like, okay. the main act is Big Gigantic, but that's only like an hour long at the end. So like there's all these guys leading up to that, and a lot of them had really good sets. So the entire time you're dancing too, and my legs are killing me there. So what I haven't mentioned yet is this whole time, the reason I was so stoked to come out to Denver was mainly, Boulder actually, was mainly because I planned on climbing one of the Flatirons and like right outside Boulder. So there's 5 like numbered Flatirons, and they're these big slabs of rock that just jut up out of the landscape right on the western edge of the city, and they're maybe at a 50 or like 60 degree angle away from you, so they're not like, they're not overhanging, they're like slabbing up away like a ramp, but they're steep enough that you have to climb them. You can't like hike up them, so it's technically like technical climbing, and it's graded as such. So a lot of the Flatiron, well actually all the numbered Flatirons, there's like multiple accounts, like hundreds and hundreds for some of them, accounts of people just going up them without any gear or protection or anything, because there's not really any great spots to place protection. And while there are permanent like eye bolts at maybe like 4 or 5 points up the route, I don't know technically how it's broken down. It's a multi-pitch climb, so you're supposed to like climb it, you know, via like it's a few rope lengths long, so they break it down into pitches. But if you're not using a rope, you just kind of, you know, bolt up the whole thing. So anyway, there's not great gear placements or anything, so I planned on free soloing one of these flat irons, and I asked my cousin Emily if she wanted to join me, and she said sure. So we chose the third flat iron, and you know that's
particular reason you chose the third one?
Because it is supposed to be the best quality climbing, and it's also somewhat involved. Like the second flat iron is more of a scramble than a climb. Like it's not as like technical, or I don't even want to say exposed, because none of the moves are exposed insofar as you like really feel like there's nothing beneath you, and you're making like a somewhat risky move. Like they're all really solid, like 4 points of contact. You know, you can rest at any point because you literally just lean into the rock. But if you were to fall, you would go ass over tea kettle hundreds of feet down and die. So there's definitely risk. But what we did is we ended up taking just a rope up there and some rappel gear, and you get to the top and there's permanent rappel anchors, so you just rappel off the back and then hike back around. But anyway, so you know, I was doing research on this climb like a week and a half kind of leading up to the trip. And then we get there, and my cousin Joel and my cousin Aaron, who's the one to be married, were like, "Oh, dude!" Like I told them that I was planning on going up soloing the flat irons the next day, and they're like, "Dude, we are too. We're gonna get up early and do the second flat iron," which again I said was like probably the least technical, least scary of like all of them, because if you look up a picture real quick of like the flat irons, the first, it goes 1 to 5 right to left, so the second one is like attached to the first one, and there's a lot of like shrubbery and stuff off to the right, so no matter where you are in the second, you can always bail off to the right and walk off, and you can walk off the top. But on the third you cannot bail anywhere, and you can't walk off because it's all elevated, so you have to either down climb the whole thing or make it to the top and rappel off the top. Or there's some down climbs off the back, which are like more exposed insofar as they're like more vertical, but they're still pretty easy climbing. So I've heard. We didn't check them out, but anyway, we get to the, you know, kind of the day of, and we're all kind of gathered around for breakfast, and my cousin Aaron starts telling us, he's like, "Oh man, yeah, the third flat iron, like, oh, I didn't know you guys were doing that one. You know, that one's a little sketchy. That's the one that people kind of get in trouble on." And I guess he was basing all this, you know, we later found out, off of a experience that he had on the third flat iron, where he just like, you know, they had rope and stuff and gear on them, but for some reason he just went like exploring out to the left, and there like wasn't too much, like it was just a little bit more blank rock, you know, probably wasn't like anything crazy, but you know, probably a little bit harder than 5-4, and you know, 5-4 isn't hard at all. But anyway, he was kind of basing that off of that experience, so we didn't encounter anything like he was saying. But regardless, leading up to this climb, we were kind of getting psyched out. They were like, "Oh, that's super sketchy, like we're gonna go do the second one." And yeah, so you know, we eventually, you know, load up the car and start going, and Aaron gave my cousin Joel like this full rack of cams and stuff and all this gear just in case, and he was planning on coming up with us. But his wife, Abby, like right when we got to the base of it, I guess started feeling like nauseous or something and wanted to go back down with him. So, you know, he gave us, you know, his like whatever we wanted of the gear. We didn't take any of it. I think I took like his water bladder, and then they left and we went up. But as like right when we got to the base of it, you know, I have this backpack with this rope on my back and stuff. I have my climbing shoes on, like about to make the first move out left, and like, you know, I start having these misgivings. I'm like, "Oh, dude, like, what if I fall? You know, this, that, and the other." But then, like, once I started going, it was like, "Oh man, this is awesome." Because it was like I said, 5-4 is really easy climbing, but it was mentally like involved enough to like be sort of, you know, fun and like sort of a puzzle and somewhat challenging, but like easy enough that there was never a thought of like, "Oh my god, I'm about to die."
Yeah, right.
So it was a really cool experience. And then after that, you know, like I said, we rappelled off the back, and then ran back around and made it just in time, sweating and stinky, to the rehearsal dinner. And then after that, the wedding was the next day, so that was a good time. And then, yeah, so got back from Denver, and maybe like 2 weeks later, I had an interview down at Mississippi College for their PA program, and it's like a 11-hour drive or something, and I have in my car like all my climbing, my bouldering gear, because I was gonna go to like northern Alabama or like Chattanooga or something on the way back up and do some bouldering, and then I had my handgun because I was gonna be like car camping or camping next to my car, you know, field camping, something in the wilderness, essentially, not the wilderness, but like in nature. So I wanted a firearm on me. Well, you know, I get down to Mississippi College campus, and like I see the college on my right, and I'm going down like basically their equivalent of like High Street for like Columbus, and you know, I'm right outside, like literally the part where there's like bricks, and it's like a big ornate like gate that says like the college and has the logo on it, and there's like landscaping, and there's this intersection. I have a green light, I'm just going straight, and all of a sudden there's a fucking car in front of me, and I'm not like a car like in front of me, like I see the headlights, like a car fucking in front of me, dude, like
perpendicular to you,
in front of, yeah, basically like perpendicular to me, and I'm like, oh shit, there's a car in front of me. Next thing I know, I hit the car, the airbags go off, the phone like automatically called 911, but I had no clue where my phone was. So I'm talking to this operator on Bluetooth, and she's like, you know, asking the basic questions like, where are you? And I fucking like, you know, open the window or open the door, and the door wasn't like, you know, it was like jammed, so I'd like fucking throw it open. And I looked at the street sign, I'm like, oh, I'm on Spring Ridge and whatever. And I'm like looking for my phone still, and then she's like asking me more questions. I'm like, no, I'm not hurt, like I'm just looking for my phone. I need to find this so I can like get out and, you know, get the situation, you know, sort of under control. And all of a sudden, this black dude comes up out of nowhere, dude. He obviously was like a bystander, hopped out of his car or something. But he runs up, he's like, hey, yo, man, you all right? And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm fine. He's like, yo, get out of the car, Like, he thought it was going to explode or something. He's screaming at me to get out of the car. And I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to find my phone. Like, I'm totally fine. Go harass the other guy that's, like, in his car over there. Like, he must have done, like, a 1080 because he was back where he started, like, where the left-hand turn lane was. And what I later found out was he had a green light to like claim the lane and then turn left like when it turned red or whatever, or a break in traffic, but he just didn't see me and like turned left, and I smacked him. So I eventually found my phone. It was up on the dash, and like, you know, I get out, and, you know, the police eventually show up and like start directing traffic and shit. But I have like my dress clothes in there, a bouldering pad, like 2 backpacks, a bunch of random shit that's just in your car, like jackets, and I have my gun. So, you know, I'm sat there and I'm like trying to decide what I need for the next day. You know, I got my dress clothes out in the hanging off like a freaking push this button to walk sign like on the side of the road. And, you know, I tell the officer, I'm like, yo, so like well, actually, before I told the officer this, I Google concealed carry laws Mississippi. You know, scroll down a little bit, and it's like, no permit needed. I'm like, sweet, all right. Hey, officer, I got this handgun. What do you want me to do with it? And he's like, oh, it'll be fine. You'll just need to, like, when I take you to the hotel, you'll just need to have it up front with me. And I'm like, all right, sweet. So I got that taken care of. But then the whole screwball came kind of the next day. So, well, actually that night and the next day. That night, you know, I'm looking at, like, car rental options, and we experienced this in Denver. The car, like, we were only able to get 2 cars. You know, my aunt and uncle got a car, and then my mom and dad got a car, and like no one else was really able to get a car. There's not many cars like out there right now, and I think what happened is like during COVID, a lot of the car companies like sold off their fleet and didn't really buy like the same number back, like they bought less. So there weren't any cars within like an hour and a half radius, and I'm like, yeah, that's fucked. So then, you know, I'm still kind of Googling and scrolling at night, and I found a place that was like 30 minutes out in the middle of like bumfuck Mississippi, and they had a car. I'm like, sweet, dude. So, you know, I booked the reservation, put in my payment details and all that, and I'm good to go for like a 9 a.m. pickup the next morning, and I got to be like on the campus at like 1 or something for like a tour and whatnot. So I get an Uber that morning and start driving out there, and I'm talking to the dude, and he's like, yo, I've driven a few guys around, and I kind of know how this goes. I would call the guys there at Enterprise and make sure that they like physically have a car for you. Like, even though you put in all your payment details and like got the reservation, got the confirmation email and everything, they do that, and they like, let you reserve a car, and then don't like have a car there for you, and basically just turn you away when you get there. So I was like, all right, well, that's kind of fucked, but yeah, I'll give them a call to be safe. So we're third of the way there, halfway there, or whatever, and I call the Enterprise up, and I'm like, hello, and he's like, hello. I'm like, hey, I placed a reservation last night. I'm just wondering, my Uber driver here says to call and make sure that and the guy stops me. He's like, oh, are you Bo? And I was like, oh, this isn't good. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, thank the Lord. I was just about to call you, but we didn't have a number on file for you, and no, we don't have a car is the short of it. And I'm like, oh my fucking gosh, dude. I'm like, all right, turn it around, James. So we go back to the hotel and paid him what I owed him for the Uber, and tipped him for saving me the butt end of it on the other half of the trip. We got back to the hotel, and I'm like, all right, so what are my options now? And you might have seen some of this in the Discord when it was happening, but eventually we got down to it's either plane, Greyhound, Amtrak. And I'm looking at the policies. It's like, okay, flying with a firearm on a plane is like cancer, but doable if I get a $100 firearm case or whatever. It has to be lockable and pressure controlled valve or whatever. When it goes up in elevation, doesn't like fucking explode. So that was all fine and dandy, but then I'm looking at my luggage, and it's like, dude, I would have to suck like 6 penises and pay $800 to get this luggage back to Ohio. Like, it was like 7 oversized bags, because I had that like crash pad and like 2 actual pieces of luggage, and then like everything from the car constituted like 3 additional like kind of bigger carry-on size to give you a conceptual like illustration of what so that wasn't gonna work. And I'm looking at Greyhound, and it's like, okay, not allowed to have firearms, and their baggage limit kind of precludes me from doing that. And then I'm looking at Amtrak, and it's like the next Amtrak didn't leave till Monday, and I had to work on Monday, so I was basically just like fucked. So I had to Uber around all the time that I was down there, and then eventually my dad just decided to come down and get me, so he drove down like that day that I had driven halfway to the Enterprise car and turned around. He drove down that night to like Memphis, and then the next night all the way down to Clinton, Mississippi. But yeah, that kind of sucked. So the car got totaled, and it's in a body shop 2 miles away from campus there, because I had to hike to the body shop and get all my stuff out of the car. And I looked like a freaking Nepali Sherpa hiking up Everest. Like, I had it all on my back, and I was about to like hike out of the body shop, and this dude's like, hey man, you need a ride? And he like worked for the body shop, and I'm like, yeah. And he's like, where you at? And I'm like, the Hampton Inn or whatever, like 2.4 miles away. He's like, oh, hop in, dude, I got you. So I was thankful for that, because the hike there sucked with an empty backpack, and I would have had to hike back with a crash pad and like 2 backpacks and then some stuff in my hands, and like, oh dude, that would have sucked so bad.
Would have been some character building for sure.
Yeah, dude, I was ready for it, but fuck.
Man, that sucks.
Yeah, so then I got back to the Cincinnati area, like, was it Friday night, I think? And then Saturday morning, like bumfuck early Saturday morning, I drove up to Dowagiac, Michigan, which is like a 4-hour drive. For my cousin had his like their family's from Michigan. He's the only one that lives out in Denver, so he had his like local wedding reception that day, and like everyone was in town and up at the cottage, so I went up there and hung out with them, and then drove back Sunday night. So I did a lot of traveling like around that weekend too, and luckily the backup car, even though the check engine and the needs maintenance lights have been on like perpetually for the last year, it's still kicking. So, and that brings me to my last interesting story. Actually, it was still kicking this last weekend when I took it on a round trip. It was like 5-hour road trip down Red River Gorge, and Patagonia, like the apparel company, had an event down there this past weekend down at McGill's Pizza, and they had free and unlimited pizza and free and unlimited beer.
Hell
and
yeah.
Professional climbers there. Like, basically, I was thinking about this on the way home because my parents asked me when we got back, asked me who was there, and I told them who was there, and they were like, it's hard to like fake the sarcasm, but they were like, oh my gosh, really? And it's like, basically the reaction that they had would be like, if I told you that like Peyton Manning and Patrick Mahomes were like doing a presentation at like somewhere, like some rando like elementary school somewhere, like that's basically the caliber of like professional climbers that were there. So the fact that they like mocked me, it was like, all right, you obviously have no idea who these guys are, but whatever. So anyway, they had some pretty like top tier climbers there presenting and like hanging out, and then obviously we did some climbing down there too, and that was my first time climbing down in the Red, and my girlfriend's first time lead climbing and climbing down in the Red. So we had a really good weekend. No one died, and
That's always a plus.
yeah, and I got to the top of, so climbing, I'll have to kind of explain climbing grades, because I was talking about 5'4" earlier when I was talking about that flat iron. So like a 5'4", anybody, like literally anybody off the street could probably do a 5'4", and I get that like obviously there's lards out there, but like people that like just obviously aren't 300 pounds overweight can do a 5'4", like in the gym on a rope sort of thing. So it goes up from 5'4", it goes 5'5", 5'6", 7, 8, 9, 10, and 5'10" is where it starts breaking down into A, B, C, D. So it goes 5'10", A, B, C, D, 5'11", A, B, C, D. So 5'10" is kind of where people say like anybody that's like athletic, regardless of like climbing ability, if they like try hard enough and like find the right climb, can probably do a 5'10", right? So like any like a good athlete. And then once you start getting above 5'10", that's where you start needing like pretty good climbing technique and athleticism and endurance and stuff like that. And like the hardest climb in the world right now, let me look this up because I'm actually familiar with sport grades.
It's a K2. I don't know.
No, that's like the most deadly. The hardest sport route is Adam Ondra's silence. So we'll go silence, Adam Ondra grade. And I think it's like, so okay, the hardest route in the world is a 515D, and like it gets like even 14A is like crazy hard, and like 13s are also like pretty elite level, and like 12C and D are like also really hard. So like all these grades, even in the 13s, like just get like super, you have to be a freak. So like a 15D is like crazy world class, the highest anyone's ever done sort of thing, if you can conceptualize that. So anyway, to flash back to Red River Gorge, the climbs that I was doing were mostly like 5'9s, a few like 10s, and then I did an 11A with only like one time I told my girlfriend to like take the rope and hold it tight so I could rest. So I got to the top of that 11A with only like one rest. So that was like really good for me. But there was this one climb the day before that I hopped on, because all the climbs that we wanted to do were taken at the moment. So we went down a little further on the wall and found this climb that I thought was an 11B. And I looked at it and it didn't look too overhanging. So I was like, okay, it's probably 11B because of like some technique needed. And if it's like slab technique, I can probably, like footwork stuff, I might be able to manage. So I go up there, clip the first bolt, and start climbing. Clip the second one, keep climbing, and I get to the third one, and it's like it's starting to get pretty crimpy and pretty hard. I clip the third one, and I like go 1-2 more moves, try to throw for the third one, which is like this big right hand up, and like fucking miss it, fall down, and I'm like, all right, take. So then I tried it again from the third clip, and fell again. Tried again, fell again. Just got shut down by this move. I'm like, all right, well, fuck it. So it's probably like an hour later, I just decide to give up, and so I clean the route and whatever, and we start like heading off back towards the one that we actually wanted to do, which was like this crazy quality of a 5.9. Like it was just like this really classic 5.9 down there, and I wanted Anna to get up on that because it's like this really long climb with like unique holds, really cool. So we started doing this 5.9, and we kind of like packing up and heading back for the day. And I look in the guidebook and I noticed that the one that I did earlier wasn't actually an 11B, it was a 12D, and that was the reason I was getting fucked up on it. So I was telling her I got to the top of every climb regardless of like takes, like if regardless of how many times I had to rest and have her like pull the rope and then like let me start going again. I got to the top of every climb besides the one that was actually a 12D that I thought was an 11B. So we had a really fun weekend down in Red River Gorge.
So that's like the most recent adventure then?
Yep, we just got back yesterday. That was the most recent adventure.
Gotcha. I've just been training as much as I can. So I usually, I didn't go today, but usually I go Monday to the beginner class is like an active rest day. Tuesday, 6 a.m. in the gi, 7:20 no gi. Wednesday lifting. Thursday the same as Tuesday. Friday is like a shakeout day, so I either do nothing or do like something on the kettlebell or whatever. Then Saturday, I've been going to beginner class and then open mat for like 2 hours, and then Sunday is another lifting day. So
damn, dude.
But I didn't go today because I got a fucking like huge rug burn, I guess it's mat burn, like right on the side of my stomach from open mat, so I'm letting that heal up a little bit. And I sprayed some like liquid bandage on it, and it burned like crazy. I was like, oh!
That'll happen.
Hopefully tomorrow I should be good to go though.
So you're training like 5 days out of the week pretty hard?
I have 3 hard days: Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Then Monday and Wednesday's lifting, Sunday and Wednesday's lifting, and then Monday and Friday are like chill or off days. So.
Gotcha.
But I've been getting, I don't know, it's fucking, like, this sport is weird. Like, I gotta, like, think when I'm grappling, but I can't think too much. Does that make sense? Like, if I think too much, then I get, like, stomped on. But if I don't think enough, then I get outsmarted. So I have to, like, find that balance, I guess.
Yeah. No, I think I need to incorporate more lifting into my routine. I need to focus, like, less on climbing at the moment and more on like bulletproofing my joints, and then like because I just like I don't know, I don't feel like an injury's coming, but I'd never want another injury to come. So
well, I mean, that's not gonna happen. Like, you're gonna get injured no matter what you do, so obviously like
but
you can
like, there's
prevent
a lot of
injuries,
dudes that like go through life without ever needing major orthopedic surgery, and that's just kind of what I want.
Really?
Yeah, I believe so.
But I mean, are they like super active though?
I don't know, dude. All I know is back in the day, people used to do caveman shit without having labral repairs, so.
I mean, it's because they would just, like,
grunt through
power through it, and it would just, like, heal in a fucked up way. Because I was reading about, like, ACLs. So this one, like, he's not semi-good. He's, like, pretty good grappler, Nicky Ryan. He tore his ACL on his right knee, got it repaired, and then he tore it on his left knee and didn't get it repaired, and he's like still grappling. So I mean, like I don't know. And I feel like back then you just got crippled, like you're just a cripple. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Basically, my philosophy for a while has been like I don't really need any gym training, because if I'm training to climb, then climbing's going to be the best training for climbing, and climbing's a full body workout, so it's pretty minimalist to like just go in and do like a warm up to make sure I'm not going to injure myself that session, and then just like do a climbing session and go home. But I want to do some more targeted strengthening of just the muscles around my knees and shoulders, because I feel like it's in some aspects I feel like I'm kind of mentally limited by the fact that like I protect myself on maybe more exposed or compromising moves, which I think is a good defense mechanism. But if I'm not willing to go for possibly the lower effort, higher risk move, I need to develop the strength to be able to go for the higher effort, lower risk move, which typically involves more like static movement and strength than like explosive movement and momentum. You get what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah,
So-
I mean, I feel like you could just lift like 2 days a week and you'd be fine.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start doing some kettlebell stuff to antagonize, and then some typical climbing stuff to do the like pulling motion. So like, for example, hangboarding and campus boarding, which is basically like you remember the pegboard in school that you'd go up with just your hands. So imagine that, but it's like little crimpers, little like climbing holds. So instead of pegs, you're just going up climbing holds. So yeah, I mean those are good for like grip strength and obviously pulling just through that whole posterior chain. But then like I said, I think gym movements are great for doing the antagonizing motions, and then also just doing like a full body kettlebell workout twice a week. And I also need something. Maybe I just need to sport climb more, because what I do in the gym is like bouldering, so it's like no ropes, like really short routes, so you don't develop stamina. And dude,
so your endurance is
outside
probably, like,
on
not awesome.
on those like 80-foot routes, I was getting blasted, man. I mean, like I had to stop and rest a few times. Like luckily there were ledges, so like when I was saying earlier that I had to have Anna take and I had to rest, that's like, if you imagine, you know, when you're like rappelling off something, like your butt's kind of hanging down and like the rope's holding you up by your harness.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so like imagine a rappelling position where she's down on the ground, like holding the other end of the rope. So like if the rope's holding me up and that's the way that I'm resting, that's cheating technically. But if you're resting by just holding on the rock and finding a comfy position and the rope's doing nothing, then you're good to go.
That makes sense.
Yeah, dude, I had to rest a lot though. I mean, it was bad. I need some more power endurance. The approaches were fine. Like I was fine hiking in, hiking out with, you know, I don't know how many pounds my pack is, but fuck, dude, a 70-meter rope and all the climbing gear is no joke. I mean, it's pretty heavy.
Probably got to be at least like 40, 50 pounds, maybe.
Yeah,
30 to 50.
I think probably a little north of 40, but yeah, I mean, definitely we call it 50 even, and it sucked. There were so many wet leaves that just kept slipping on and falling on my ass, but I mean that was no problem. Even with the elevation gain and loss, it was just the climbing. Like, oh, there's something about it, man. You just get so pumped out and you're breathing heavy. And
I mean, you're literally holding up your whole body with your arms, right? So,
well, you shouldn't be. You should be using your legs as well as the thing.
Well, your arms and legs. I mean, still.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good time. I want to bring some of my less climbing enthused friends down there, and so.
Isn't that where people go cabrewing or something? Is Red River Gorge? Am I thinking of somewhere else?
I mean, I'm sure it's feasible. I think there are definitely bodies of water there, so I'm sure you could do it. I haven't heard of like a large Red River Gorge cabrewing scene, but
okay, maybe I got that mixed up with something else.
yeah, I mean maybe, but what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I want to take some of my friends that like don't climb down there, because if you have like two people that know how to climb, you can have somebody belay and then somebody lead the route, so they take the rope up there and then there's anchors at the top and you feed the rope through the anchors, and then you can clip all your gear off on the way down essentially. So then at that point you just have a top rope set up, and then if you tie one of your fucking Gumby ass friends into the top rope, and as long as the belayer knows what they're doing, really they're not gonna die. So
yeah,
I mean the worst they're gonna fall is like 2 feet, which is just the tension falling out of the rope, because the rope's looped all the way through the top already. So they're not ever gonna be above their last place, or their last piece of placed gear, which would be what's called a factor fall. So a factor 2 fall, you could imagine if I have a piece of rope that's pinned at one end and the rope's 50 meters long, and I climb 50 meters up over that pin, right? So then I'm gonna fall 100 meters, because it's gonna be the length of the rope times 2, because I'm gonna be dangling below that pin. So that would be a factor 2 fall, because the distance of the fall is double that of the length of the rope. So if you climb above your gear in any regards, the fall is going to be factored by, you know, whatever the distance of the fall is times the length of slack of rope that you have. So you typically want to avoid those, but they're kind of inevitable in lead climbing, which is why the bolts are kind of placed pretty close to each other and pretty like smartly, so that like there's a good clipping position and you're not gonna like fall on some heinous shit.
And factor 5.
Factor 5. No, the biggest one, factor 2 is what maxes that up. But yeah, you definitely don't want to take a factor 2 fall. That's a no-no.
No shit.
But yeah, so it's on top rope. It's like pretty fucking safe. The only way it could fail is if the top anchor failed, and those are redundant. There's 2 of them up there usually. So
yeah,
I think it'd be
like
a fun
the chance
time.
of both failing is pretty low.
Because there's a lot of routes that are just like jug hauls where like all the holds are just amazing. So the only thing limiting you is like your, you know, somewhat stamina, but like I said, you can rest, and then like your mental capacity to just deal with exposure to heights. But I feel like it's a fun experience to, because you get up above the tree line, and really cool.
Just the first step in your journey towards becoming a dirtbag climber.
Yeah, dude. Might be. There were definitely a lot of dirtbag climbers there. I was talking to one. His name was Greg, and he saw that I had a Wyoming shirt on, because my brother's out in Wyoming wrestling, so I have some like Wyoming merch. He's like, dude, you from Wyoming? I was like, no. And I was, you know, telling him about how my brother's out there and how we went like to the Vita Voo once. He's like, dude, I've been out in Wyoming for the past 8 months. I love the Vita Voos.
I love dirtbag climbers.
I was like, hell yeah, Greg. And he was sitting there like, dude, you looked like a scientist or like a businessman or something. Like he had this like leather binder that opened up, and there was like, you know, the ones that open up and it has like it opens up, and the main thing is that it's basically a protector for like your notebook, but then it also has like one side of it folds open again, and there's like a legal pad there, and then on the right side there's like a freaking mirror and a razor and like sticky notes and little sign here post-its, and then like a thing for your pen holder. Then you open this other compartment, and it's all like embroidered and it's like leather. So he has one of these things, and he's writing. It looks like he's freaking doing some chemistry or something. Like he's writing down in his lab notebook. I was like, what you writing there, Greg? He's like, oh, these are just my goals. I'm like, dude, that's badass. Like, what are your goals? He's like, well, you know, I just kind of want to get broader, you know? And I was like, oh, you're
broader?
You looking
what
like,
does that mean?
Yeah, I was like, you looking to like put on muscle? And he's like, not exactly. Like, I just want to become like more like well-rounded climber, you know what I mean? So he's like writing down like all these climbs that he did, and I'm like, dude, that is fucking awesome. Like, meanwhile, I'm out here just trying to get into a position where I can move to part-time to start climbing more, and Greg's like living out of his van, or actually he said he was camping out of his trunk, so I don't know if he actually had a van, but I don't know, dude. Greg's the spirit animal for sure.
That's great. I people like that are so interesting to me.
Dude,
just,
they're like the nicest people too.
I mean, I feel like maybe it's like a little childlike nice, because they're just like so focused on one thing that they're just like, I don't know.
Well, it's just everyone I met down there was super nice. I think it's just like a mutual. Usually I feel like communities
maybe like sharing in the love of the game.
Yeah, like climbers are usually pretty nice to other climbers and whatnot. Actually, the only like dickhead that I ran into, this was so funny, and it was partially my fault because I gave Anna like a crash course on how to lead climb and how to lead belay literally 8 hours before we left. Like, we were in the pitch black outside in suburbia Mason, Ohio, on a pine tree where I had rigged up some quick draws and was having her shuffle up the tree and fucking belay and stuff. So, you know, we get this real haphazard education under her belt, and then I'm having her lead this 5-9 at the end of the day, and she back clips the first 2 quick draws, which essentially means like, so the orientation of the carabiner to the wall is like they're on parallel planes essentially. So, like, you know how a carabiner is shaped? Like, it's, if you lay it on a table, you know how it's gonna like
a
lay.
capital D kind of.
Yeah. So imagine the plane that cuts through the most carabiner, like a flat plane on the carabiner, that's parallel to the wall when it's hanging off. So when you clip a rope, the rope's coming out of your harness and then looping through the carabiner and then going down to the belayer. So you want the part that's coming out of your harness to be the first part that goes through the carabiner. You don't want it to be like facing the wall. You want it facing away from the wall, right? So if you do it the other way, it's called back clipping. And what can happen is, one, your carabiner is gonna like twist and add more rope drag, so it's gonna feel like heavier as you're climbing up the wall. Two, since your carabiner is twisted, if you take a fall, it can like cross load the carabiner, or load it in a way such that it's not gonna actually provide 22 kilonewtons worth of like rated force. And three, you can end up in a weird funky position where essentially the rope is going to loop back over the top of the gate as you're falling, and it's going to open the gate, and then the rope can just fall out of the carabiner. So back clipping's like a pretty big no-no. But she like back clips this like first one, and there's this lady and her fucking like 6-year-old son behind me, and they're these like they're speaking to each other in Mandarin, and then all of a sudden she goes, "No, that's not right. That's not right. Hey, 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 that's." She's screaming at Anna, and like Anna was already like so nervous to lead this 5'9". She's 15 feet off the ground, and this Asian lady's screaming at her. And I'm trying to like calmly explain to her, like, "Anna, you back clipped it, so take the rope out and clip it like the opposite way, like the completely just twist it around." She's like, okay. So she takes it out, and then the son, he starts looking up at her as she's doing this, and she takes it out, she like twists it around a few times, then puts it back in, but it's the same exact way. She's still back clipped. So then the son goes, "No, that's still not right. You're still not right. That's hey." So this dude's screaming at her, and I'm like, "Anna, you gotta." I'm trying to like calmly explain and not like crack up laughing while these. It was so fucking funny, dude. And eventually, like, it's great because she's never gonna forget it now that these Asian guys, like this Asian woman and her son were like screaming, straight up flaming her like 2 clips 15 feet up. But
character building.
Oh my god, it was so funny. And it's funny too because like it's one of those things that like for me it's such an intuitive, like it makes so much sense that like I basically forgot to like harp on it as much as I should have, because like I harped on Z clipping because that doesn't really make sense to most people, and that's where like if you have your rope clipped into multiple quick draws up this, so multiple carabiners essentially going up a wall, if you reach down below the previous carabiner that you clipped to then get rope to clip it to the next one, what's going to happen is you're going to end up in this position where your rope goes up to clip into the carabiner that you just clipped, but then back down to clip into the one that you reached below to previously clip. And if you fall, you're gonna first kind of catch that top one, and that's gonna be like your limit or whatever. But then as the slack gets pulled out of the rope, it's gonna catch on that one that's right below it, and you're gonna get pulled down and like almost up into that carabiner below it. So you're gonna take this further fall than you would have if you clipped them sequentially. So, I harped on that and like made sure, because that's like really dangerous, and back clipping is too, but it just kind of depends where you do it and where you fall. And yeah, so she got to learn the lesson in real time, which is cool. But yeah, other than that, like, did a fantastic job and no one died.
It's always a plus.
Exactly. And it's crazy too, because like.
So are you gonna? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say the guidebook for Red River Gorge has like 3,000 documented routes in it, and like we did maybe 7 unique routes in 2 days down there.
I mean, we were only there for like a day, right? So.
Yeah, well, like 2 days, but still, it's just like crazy how much is down there, how big it is. But go on, what were you saying?
So. Are you going to that school in Mississippi for PA school, or no?
I got put on the wait list, so there's a chance, but...
How many places did you apply to?
Like 8, I think. Yet to hear back from 2.
Gotcha. Well, my vote is against anything in the Deep South, because the Deep South sucks, so...
Yeah, but the thing is, like, Mississippi, there's only, like, 3 counties in Mississippi that aren't, like... I don't know what the word is, but we'll just say legally underserved as far as like medical goes. So it's sort of a unique opportunity to get a lot of good like experience if I wanted to go into rural medicine or rural emergency.
Sucks.
Yeah, I mean,
everything like the education sucks, like the infrastructure sucks.
Apparently
like
the water sucks too, dude. In Jackson, apparently you can't drink the water. That was new to me when I got down there.
Yep.
But they were like,
don't
worry. Like,
it's rough down there.
Where we are, it's good. All right, I trust you.
But yeah, I don't know. I didn't like the South that much. It's too slow. It's too hot. The heat, that wet heat, is brutal, bro.
Dude, it was funny though, cause I'm down there and I'm like, oh, it's pretty good so far. Anna was asking me how it is, and she's like, oh, is there any good climbing around? I was explaining to her, like, oh, not really, but, in like a 2-hour radius there's some decent bouldering. And she goes, is there like a climbing gym nearby? And I was like, oh shit, dude, I didn't even check. Like, if there's no climbing gym nearby, I don't know if I want to come here, like, dead ass. So, I hop online, I Google, and there's one like 15 minutes away, but it's like, compared to the climbing gym that I'm in now, it's like a closet. Like, it is small, but it's it's like this. Shit. No, it's not shit. The thing is, it's like this small climbing gym, but the clientele is obviously like really dedicated, like good climbers. So like all the stuff they have there is like way more focused on like training and getting better as a climber versus like looking pretty and catering to like first timers that don't know how to like read a route or whatever. So it's like this freaking like old school like grungy garage gym sort of feel.
Oh, that's kind of cool though.
Yeah, and I was like that's pretty sick. But
yeah, I would say think carefully before going to the deep south.
Yeah, I mean,
very carefully.
At the end of the day, it's 2 years of my life, so.
That's a long fucking. I was down in the deep south for like a whole summer, and it was like the longest summer ever. So just keep that in mind. I mean, I'm not saying do or don't. I'm just saying evaluate all of your options.
Yeah, I mean, like ideally, I'd be going to school in like Colorado or Utah or something where there's mountains all around, but I haven't heard back from any Colorado or Utah schools. So yeah, the plan, if I don't get in, I'm gonna I gotta take a genetics course and medical terminology, I think, and then that kind of greenlights me for the requirements for like all the schools in Ohio. So the next time around I'll be able to possibly get in-state tuition. And dude, freaking schools, like they like try to sway their demographics to where they have like majority in-state too, so there's like a selection bias as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks when you're applying to out-of-state schools. It's like affirmative action.
What do you think of Elon officially taking over Twitter? Any thoughts?
No, I literally have zero thoughts. Everyone's saying Twitter sucks now, and it's like...
I think it's the same. I haven't noticed the difference.
It has not changed for me at all as a user. Like
I was this is literally the same shit.
I can understand that, like, if you want to say like what has recently happened, I disagree with, and I worry that if it continues, the social media platform will not be as good as it is now. I can understand that sort of like viewpoint, but like
I think it was already terrible though. Is my thing.
You think it was already terrible? I think Twitter is like the best like normie social media there is.
I mean, compared to how it used to be, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Like in like 2010, 2015, that was good times on Twitter.
Yeah, no, I can understand that, but yeah, no, it hasn't changed for me at all as a user, so I couldn't care less. I like financially and like whatnot, I don't know if it's like the best decision depending on like what his plans are, but I think as far as as far as the move goes, I think it's pretty on brand for him, and I don't know, perhaps he has a bigger plan. Maybe it's
we'll see.
More for the meme.
I don't know. I just I honestly don't care at the end of the day. I just want stuff to be interesting and weird, so I'm fine with that.
What about the did you see that Russian caterer guy that came out and said that they were interfering in the elections?
No, I didn't.
He said that
Russia
Russia has interfered, or how does it translate? Because I saw someone break it down in Russian, and it's like it derives from like this Lenin Buvyets something, but it's like Lenin lived, Lenin lives, and Lenin will live on. So they said like Russia did, will, and continues to meddle in U.S. elections, and will do it surgically, something in the way that we know how, was like the quote. And I just thought that it was kind of like one of those things where they could be doing absolutely nothing and then just say that, and then like,
yeah, it's the
same effect. It's like, okay, I mean, like, good for you, bro.
And you can never really like tell for sure how.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of funny.
But yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, thing of it is, like, nobody's gonna start a new Twitter. I don't think. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'd have to be pretty
dude, I don't know.
huge.
I'm on Truth Social, so.
How's that going for you?
I got a check mark next to my name. I pay $16 a month for it.
Wow. Only double the Twitter price.
Yep. Did you see that he banned that comedian for changing her name to like Elon Musk with the blue?
I didn't see that, but that's funny.
No, dude, people are freaking out about that. That's why I thought you asked that question.
Nah, I was just asking in general. No, that's honestly hilarious, though.
They were like, so much for free speech. And, I don't know.
I mean,
and then they like flashback to the. I guess he tweeted at some point like, I wish comedy were legal on Twitter. And then whenever he bought Twitter, like one of his first tweets was, comedy is now legal on Twitter. And then someone like screenshotted both of those, and then screenshotted this comedian being suspended, and was like, what's going on here?
yeah, I mean, that's one of those weird areas where it's like, if you're impersonating somebody and you like scam somebody, you know what I'm saying? It's like not that far away from that, so.
Yeah.
But again, I just want to see. Yeah, that's funny. That's honestly hilarious. I want to see more chaotic shit happen. I'm all for it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, that's kind of me. As far as pop culture and politics go nowadays, I think I'm like the chaotic good or chaotic neutral.
Yeah, I just want fun shit to happen. I know it's going down the tubes anyway, so I want to enjoy it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh man. Let me see what else is happening.
Are you do you have any plans to resume the Russian learning?
I don't know. I'm kind of putting that on pause right now. I can like read words and shit. I don't know what they mean anymore, or like, I mean, not anymore, but like, I don't know what they mean. I can sound out words now. I've been switching over to history lately. I've been studying ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and World War II a little bit.
Nice. I haven't been able to get into history. I'm sure at some point I'll be able to.
Yeah, but it's like I think like a starting point would be like the hardcore history podcast, probably.
Yeah, I even tried that. I honestly think I might have just had like not even a series of bad history teachers, but maybe just a series of history teachers that like didn't vibe with me to the degree that I needed to vibe to like start to.
So maybe start with like watching Band of Brothers or something. That's pretty solid. Or like what's that one? The Pacific. That one was good. I don't know. War is always interesting because like the stakes are the highest, so people are trying the hardest, and everything's like like I said, everything's on the line. So it's just like way more interesting to see what people act like when stuff is like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now I'm reading about like the Great Depression and all that stuff, and then the book goes into World War II. And then I'm reading about the Roman Empire still. I'm hoping to finish that series by like during my winter break. I'm taking like a week off for Christmas, so I'm hoping to finish all the books in the Roman Empire book series by then. We'll see. I don't know. It's kind of hard to read because the dude he's like so smart that he like makes all these good points, and I just like sitting there thinking like, oh shit. So I've been reading the first book for like a couple months, and I'm like halfway through it. So I don't know, but if I can like just turn off my phone and all computers and like all technology and not work, I can read pretty fast. So that's what I'm hoping to do for that week.
Cool. Power to you, brother.
We'll see.
I need to get back on the Russian. I'm like really hit or miss. I think on average I'll do like a one quiz, or what's it fucking called, Duolingo session per week. So
I've just been reading Russian tweets on Twitter. that's my Russian studying and sounding out the words before I.
I'm at the point where I can sound out pretty much everything now. I can recognize a lot of common words, and I can recognize most like tenses of stuff. So I can like, I can see when somebody's saying like we versus like you versus I. But
right.
A lot of times it's difficult when someone says like you told me, or like she likes me, or he likes you. You know, like something conjugated verb, and then like something else that would be like a different conjugation on the verb but doesn't change the conjugation. Those trip me up, but those just started being introduced in Duolingo, so I don't know. It's a process. The stoke is somewhat mild for it right now, but the stoke's high for climbing, so stoke of life is still high, which is nice.
Yeah, my stoke is mostly jiu-jitsu right now, so
you should become a dirtbag jiu-jitsuer where you live out of your gi.
Yeah, that would be disgusting.
Your gi's your tent.
Ugh, that would smell so bad,
dude,
bro.
you walk around like one of those monks wearing your gi all day, every day, and then when you have to sleep, you do it like you have a little like walking stick too. But when you have to sleep, you sleep naked, and your gi is like the tent tarp, and the walking stick converts into like a pole to hold it up.
Yeah, dude, and I always feel so gross after class already, so I'm sure that would especially no-gi. I feel fucking disgusting after no-gi. I can't lie, it's gross. It's like a big slip inside of sweat.
Yeah, you just go shower right after.
I mean, I do, but like still, like fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm just conditioned from wrestling, but I always felt like, I guess, safe or just mentally like cool with it whenever I was able to shower like right after practice, like first thing.
I mean, I shower like immediately. It's just like before that, I feel gross.
Climbing's like sort of the same way because you're on mats that are like shared with a bunch of people, but I'm not nearly the level of like like scared of catching a mat fungus or something than I am like wrestling. Because like climbing, I still try to get in the shower like right when I get home, but like it takes me 30 minutes to drive home, and I'm like totally cool with that. Whereas like wrestling, it's like definitely I'm showering at the facility,
you gotta get in there quick
before I drive home, and I'm wearing flip flops in the shower. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, in college I got ringworm once, just like from regular lifting, and
dude,
that's staph infection. So
we've had so much like ringworm and staph, and like just between me and my brother, that I think we probably. They're probably like mostly gone now since like he's moved out, and it's been a while since we've done high school wrestling. But like there was an era in our household where we had 5-10 bottles of mupirocin for the staph, and then ringworm, I believe it's Lamisil. But
yeah, because that's for like a yeast infection too or some shit.
Yeah.
For chicks.
Yeah, so we just had a bunch of tubes of that laying around, and then like half the time whenever we got shit, we wouldn't even need to go to the doctor because we knew what they were gonna do. So what you do is you start treating it yourself, and then you got to go to the little clinic and have at least a mid-level provider sign you off on like a sheet that says like you're good to like return to competition, because or else if the refs see anything on you like as you're weighing in that like looks suspicious, they have grounds to medically disqualify you from like the competition unless you have one of these valid sheets that like document it.
Yeah.
So you go there and you're like, yeah, I've been treating this for about 4 days now, and it's gotten a lot better. You're like, okay, yeah, cool, yeah, you're good to return.
Disgusting.
You're good to return tomorrow. So like some dudes would like sometimes some dudes would come in with just like some obviously fucked up shit, and like the refs would still tell them like, dude, you're not getting on the fucking mat. Like this is still open. Like so realistically, you would only do that and compete if like it was passable. But yeah, it was like definitely had been through that enough to know how to like, you know, all right, see it pop up, start treating it, go get a paper filled out, and then you should be good. Like assuming you get it in the beginning of the week, you should be good to go by the end of the week, sort of thing. Because it's like they say that you're not contagious after it's either 48 or 72 hours of treatment. So
yeah, that's what that's it still itched like a mofo though.
Yeah,
it was itchy for like 4 days. Oh man.
No, staph fucking sucks, dude. Staph's the worst. Ringworm's like okay. Like,
it just looks awful.
Yeah, it can sort of get bad. Like if you get a bunch of them and like they get open, and then there's a few days where they're sort of itchy. But like staph is staph's in like a perpetual state of like being open until it's like all the way healed. Because even when it's like when it heals, it kind of gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until it eventually heals. But the part that's like still there is still like this crusty golden scab, and it's like this really fragile like crusty golden scab on top of this just like gooey fucking open mess. Like it is the worst, dude. And all of that shit,
that's exactly what happened.
Every fucking little bit of that shit that comes off, whether it's the flaky shit or the pus, is contagious as fuck. Every single little bit. So like it's the worst.
Yeah, I had to wash my sheets like 4 times. I don't know, it was bad. And then because I discovered it because I was shaving, and I like it got this itchy spot. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, and then probably skin started flaking out. And you're like, oh no.
I thought it was like a bug bite at first. And I was like, this is not good.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know what the moral of that story is, to be honest. So.
Shower.
Dude, the thing is, I shower like as soon as I get in my house, bro. I don't know.
Servers are down. Time to take a shower.
Yeah, exactly. But it was like right in like my beard too, so I was like, man, do I gotta like start shaving all the time now? I don't know.
Yeah, feels bad. Probably just a fluke, honestly. I think it's like probably easier for it to establish itself in a place like a beard where there might be like open hair follicles.
Yeah.
For it to worm its way down on in there, because like the most recent ones that I can remember were like either on my neck where like the hair like, you know, where they like take the
I had some on my neck too. I had a little bit.
Yeah, where they take that like zero guard short razor and fucking line you up on the back of the neck there. Yeah, so I got it there where there's like little hairs, and then the one on the side of my face was just like it started in the sideburn line and then kind of got up into like my forehead hairline too. So like, you know, a lot of kind of like open hair follicles.
Yep. Yeah, so I've been like super paranoid about like I put like the Head and Shoulders shampoo like all over my face now. Like,
yeah, no, I've always used that ever since we started wrestling. My brother and I have. Well, actually, I mean, he's in college now, so I don't know what the fuck he uses, but
because it has zinc in it, apparently that kills everything.
Yeah, pyrithium zinc, I believe.
Right.
Something.
So yeah, I've been like.
Yeah, but you can get the generic too. Like Kroger has a generic, and it comes in like this big ass fucking like pump bottle of it, and it's way cheaper than Head and Shoulders. And it's the same shit.
I'll have to check that out next time I run out. So.
Yeah, it's the same shit. It's like the same color bottle too.
As long as it says pyrithione zinc.
Literally on the thing, it even says compare to Head and Shoulders.
All right, I'll check that out next time I get it.
Yeah, it's OP. Dude, and so remember the statistic that you cited when we first started this podcast, like the 21 number? Was that statistic in reference to podcasts that make it past 21 or that make it to 21?
I think it's like 21 and like inclusive of 21 and over.
Gotcha. Damn, so we got one more episode until we become a statistic. That's pretty good.
That's good. I mean, we've made it past like 90-something% of people, so.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, my other friends that started a podcast, they only made 12 episodes, so.
Oh my god.
I mean, we have like I guess more than 20 hours of footage, like 26 hours of us talking about random shit, so.
That's pretty good. That was the goal when we started this, and I'd say that so far we've lived up to that goal.
I mean, I'm still having fun, like, recording. I could definitely see doing this, like, indefinitely, but I need to put more effort into, like, the production part, and I need to sit down for, like, a weekend and just, like, get all of that ironed out, like, the distribution and, like, the editing and stuff, and see if there's a process I can do to make it, like, more modern, you know what I mean? So
yeah, how do people... I think the big push in podcasts nowadays that I've observed is the modern is more equated with having like a video portion of your podcast too, where you're in like what seems like a really cool studio with the guy sitting right across from you with your mics. And so
yeah, well, I think the other thing is like, I mean, it goes on multiple platforms at once, and like,
yeah,
that kind of thing is what I was more thinking along the lines of.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I think yeah, I think it's like really common nowadays. Well, I mean, it's always been like people, you know, you get this wherever you can get podcasts, but increasingly I've kind of become I don't know, I guess maybe more targeted by advertisers trying to get me to like be aware of other podcasting platforms. So it's been...
Yeah, I mean, if you can get it up like on YouTube, Spotify, and like one more thing, I feel like that's good enough. But and then on YouTube, like the chapters thing, and there's, I don't know, I gotta spend some more time on that. But I mean, obviously, we're both like in our low 20s, so we have plenty of time to work on that, obviously. So, and we gotta get Tom on here again at some point.
Dude, for sure. The audience loved Tom, I was told.
Yeah, that was a solid episode. I gotta study some more World War II stuff so we can just like nerd out about World War II for like 3 hours or something.
Oh yeah, dude, he would love that. I'll go on more climbing adventures so I can talk about crazy stuff. There was one time, I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast. We can I'll tell this, and then if you have anything that you want to end on, we can discuss that and then cut it off. But the real quick TLDR is that my buddy and I, and you feel free to like immediately stop me, Aaron, if this if you know that I've told this on the podcast before, because I've probably told it to you before. But
let me.
So my buddy Austin, we decided to go down to Red River Gorge for the first time like ever, and he went down there and he had like some climbing gear on him, but neither of us had ever climbed, and I had no intention of climbing anything. So in hindsight, I don't really know why he brought the climbing gear. But anyway, we go down there, COVID, none of the trailheads have parking, but the trailheads are still open. The park visitor center was closed, no parking there. We go through the whole park. At the end of the park, there's this little like bodega. Well, actually, not a bodega, more of like a bar.
Go to the bodega.
Bar restaurant. So we go up and there's this person chilling in their van, and we're like, hey, what's the deal? Like, can we park here? What's going on? Why is all the parking closed? And she said, no, you can't park here. COVID's going on. No one's gonna let you park because you're not supposed to be here, sort of thing. And I was wearing an Ohio shirt. This becomes relevant later. Austin tries to bribe her with $100. She says no. We drive on. So as we drive on, we first encounter a fucking beat up gas station, like hillbilly gas station, and then right after it on the same side of the road there's like a BP or something. So we stop at the BP, obviously, and walk in, make a purchase, and ask if we can park the car there for the day. Obviously they say yes, as long as it's out of the way. It was out of the way, we're good to go. So then we decide to hike into the actual like Red River Gorge State Park, where there's no climbing there to my knowledge. So we hike in there, and we have to hike past the restaurant, but we like sneak around behind it and then get back on the road and like keep on going. So we go on in there, we get on the trail. That trail led to another trail. That trail led to another trail, and then we finally get off the trail at like 9 p.m. We had hiked like 20 some miles, shit ton of elevation change. We were like both pooped, and we're hiking out on the same road that we hiked in, and we kind of get to the corner where this restaurant is, and I see two like glowing lights on the porch. It's like pitch black, and the glowing lights are the butt ends of cigarettes. So there's guys on the porch smoking cigarettes, and they probably see us walking on the road. I'm like, oh fuck. So I'm keeping quiet, but then all of a sudden they're on the corner of these two roads, right? So the parking lot's kind of like on the corner of these roads. Austin decides to like start walking through the parking lot. I'm like, oh my god, these guys immediately start hooting and hollering, run off the porch toward him. I'm like, oh my fucking god, what the hell? They're like, get the fuck out of here! What the fuck, you Ohio sons of bitches!
That's no bueno.
Fucking yelling at us. I'm like, oh my god. They're like, what the fuck were you guys doing back there? Tell us right now, what were you doing? And right before we got into this restaurant, we had actually passed a guy walking his dog, and I thought it was the weirdest thing, and it was just in the forefront of my mind for some reason. So I was like, oh dude, it's no problem. We were just we were at our buddy's house, we were dog sitting for him, and then he like cuts me off as I'm saying this like dumbass excuse and starts yelling at us again. I'm like, all right, Austin, let's just get out of here. I'm like, listen man, we don't want any trouble, fuck off, like have a good day. So we start walking down the road. This guy, I'm thinking he's about to leave us alone, but then I hear a truck rev up, and I'm like, oh my god, dude. So this guy gets in his fucking truck, and we're walking on the correct side of the road, on the left side, opposing, towards traffic. This guy's on the right side behind us, swerves over the double yellow, and, like, tries to hit us. And we, like, jumped over the guardrail. I racked my nutsack on the guardrail. And we start, we keep running. He goes about 100 yards down the road, does a U-turn in the middle of the road, and starts coming back towards us. I'm like, oh my fuck, dude. So we're on the other side of the guardrail, so obviously he doesn't do anything like super retarded and like try to jump the guardrail. So he goes past us again, but then we like start going down the road some more towards the gas stations, and there's this dude, it's real late, like no one, all the houses are, either like maybe lights on inside, but definitely like no one's outside, everyone's like in for the evening. All of a sudden there's this guy out in his fucking garage door opens up, he's leaf blowing out in his driveway. That's not fishy at all. So this dude, like, I think there was another car that, like, ended up coming or whatever, but the guy in the original truck, we see him go past us again, and he pulls into this lot, like, right across from the Hillbilly gas station, and, like, backs into it, and then, like, turns his lights off, and he's sitting there. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? So, thankfully and surprisingly, he didn't give us any trouble as we, like, walked across the entrance of the Hillbilly gas station to get to the BP that was like on the same side of the road, on the same road. But we eventually got back to the car, and I'm exhausted and want to go home, but like suddenly when we get back to the car, Austin has a change of heart from like being shit scared to like, dude, I'm gonna get my Glock, we're gonna go kill those sons of bitches, we're gonna fucking drive by, fuck those guys, let's go slash their tires. I'm like, Austin, let's just get out of here. Like, what are you talking about, dude? But I will never forget though, when we were trying to escape the crazy hicks, the first thing and like the only thing that Austin said to me as we were running was, Bo, run as fast as you can, I don't know if the police are corrupt here or not. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, that's scary. Like it's weird out there, dude. It's weird off the beaten path. Weird shit happens.
Yeah, so we've never been back down that way. Fuck those guys. All the people at Miguel's are real nice. But yeah, so that's my ending story for episode 20. You got anything to end on?
No, I think that's. I don't think I could top that, to be honest. So.
Yeah, that was a crazy one, but all right, we'll sign it off here, folks, at an hour and approximately 20 minutes. We'll try to ramp up the frequency of these. I mean, at least to the point where we're not posting one every 2 months. So I think at a bare minimum,
I think there was some extenuous.
I mean, there were definitely like basically there was like a raid that came out on RuneScape straight into the Denver trip, straight into like the Mississippi trip, I think, and then there was a recent. Well, I mean, this would have only been like a week or two ago, but Aaron had time, and then I forgot about it and went to the climbing gym or something. So then there were some football games after that, and a fight, and that fight was actually really good.
Saturday's not a good day anymore.
Yeah.
Saturday's a bad day now.
So, yeah, there definitely were some extraneous circumstances, but as I was saying, I think at the bare minimum, the audience can expect an episode once every month, but probably sooner. So, I think.
I mean, yeah, like realistically, like Monday nights I'm usually pretty free, so.
Yeah, and my schedule is pretty flexible as well. Monday nights work. Monday like right after work, like this time slot would have been not very good, but like if we started 45 minutes later, it would have probably been good because usually I train on Mondays. But since I was climbing most of the day Saturday and most of the day Sunday, as I said before, well, actually, we weren't recording when I said this. My shoulders and my calves hurt really bad, and my penis does not hurt, in case anyone was wondering.
At least the important parts are still fine.
Yeah, but no, dude, I'm just so sore. I was like, it's crazy how good food tastes, like, after you climb and hike all day, is all I'm gonna say. But yeah, anyway, signing out here, folks. Thanks for tuning in. This has been the Bo and Aaron Show.
Yep.
And we hope you have a great week.
Yep, we'll see you next time my rents due.
Peace.